Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the 60 Feet 6 Inches LSU podcast. As always, thank y'all for joining me. So, in this episode, look, it's going to be a tough one. Hopefully, it's cathartic, right? Everybody gets their feelings out. But I didn't really feel like doing this podcast after this series. But we're going to go through it all and just talk it out a little bit, right? Share some feelings, and maybe we can come up with a solution. I don't know if we can do that, but we will review LSU's series loss to Mississippi State. As y'all know, I'm going to go over each of the three games. Also, going to talk about what are the three big things that I learned from this weekend. How did my get right, stay right list produce? And then finally, the SEC rundown. As always, you can find the 60 Feet 6 Inches LSU podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, all the other major audio platforms. If you're viewing this on the YouTube channel, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like, and comment. I will get to as many of those comments as possible. I thank y'all for all the interaction. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. The handle is at 60FT. 6IN LSU Pod. If you missed the last episode, it was the Mississippi State preview series. I broke down state and what to expect, and some of that stuff did come to fruition this weekend versus LSU. I also, if you're new to the podcast or you forgot, I'm breaking down the previews. I'll do the full preview, but then Thursday and Friday I release kind of snippets, so I break it in half. So if you're not able to get there for the full preview, if you just want a short take, and those snippets are available on YouTube only. Make sure to check those out as well. So LSU loses its second series of the season, dropping games 2 and 3 versus Mississippi State. They lose back-to-back games for the second weekend in a row, doing that previously against Auburn. The Tigers move to 39-12 on the year, and they are 17-9 in the SEC. All right, let's get into it. Friday, Saturday, Sunday versus the Bulldogs. Friday night, LSU wins the opener. By way of 10-run rule, they win 12-1. And really, from a pitching standpoint, I don't know if there's really anything else that I can say about Paul Skenes that hasn't been said already. Another dominant performance by the big righty. And I just think he's getting better and better as the season rolls on. He had a little midseason lull, if you want to call it that, at South Carolina. So he got hit pretty hard. And then once again, at Ole Miss, he didn't get really hit hard. His velo was down a little bit. And but you've seen in the last couple weekends, Bama, then Auburn, and then this weekend against State. He's been really, really impressive his last three SEC series. He threw a complete game this weekend by way of the 10-run rule. And what was really impressive is that Skenes threw 7 innings on 95 pitches. So if you think about it, if LSU needed him to go out in the 8th, if it was a close game or obviously if they didn't win by 10-run rule, he definitely could have gone out into the 8th as he's been up to 110. I think maybe maxed out at 113 pitches this year. So the fact that he can get in 7 innings pitched on 95 pitches is phenomenal. And oh, by the way, your boy had 13 strikeouts. So Skenes' line looked like this. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 earned by way of the Highfield home run, 1 walk. Truly impressive. And 13 Ks on 95 pitches. Skenes is a stud. And thank goodness for him the past couple weekends because LSU has absolutely needed him. In terms of the hitting side of things, LSU is dominant from the word go. Look, Dugas leads off the game with the home run. Joubert and Thompson go back-to-back. And then Dugas hits a triple and is driven in by Morgan to go for LSU to go up to a 5-0 lead. In the 6th, LSU plates 3 more runs on 3 singles in a row, followed by a Cruz bases-loaded walk. Tommy White hits a single, and then K. Beloso hits a sac fly. In the 7th, Trey Morgan drives in 2 more runs, and then Tommy Tanks walks it up with a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 7th. So another 10-run rule victory in SEC play by the Tigers. And if you think about that game, you got to be going home from that game seeing, yep, State's what we thought they were. They're not very good. We know they saved their ace, but 10-run rule on a Friday night, the boys look great. They're swinging the bat. They struggled against Auburn a little bit. And Tommy White was red hot, right? Cruz was still scuffling at that point in time. But it's a great way to start the weekend. And with the 10-run rule, you got to feel very confident as LSU seems like they're off and running, and the Auburn series seems to be in the past. On Saturday, LSU suffers the loss by a score of 9-4. And in my opinion, this was the one that got away. But credit to State. They kept on battling, and they kept on fighting and hitting until the end. And eventually LSU's bullpen just couldn't hold the lead and get it done in this one. And we're going to get to Sunday. I know that's on everybody's mind right now, and that's going to be probably a big, long discussion. But when you look at the weekend, they both suck, right? But when you really waste. I'm just going to say you waste a Ty Floyd outing where he was dominant and he looked like he did in the first 3 innings against Auburn, and to have that game slip away, one, it just sucks for the team, and it sucks for Floyd, right? Because he's been kind of up and down all year. He's gotten some criticism. In the last 2 outings, um, he's looked really, really good, and this time he kind of put it all together, and it was a dominant outing by Floyd. I was there in attendance, and I thought he threw great. He had the breaking ball working early. He was mixing it in effectively, and he did not allow a run into the fifth. And to me, if you think about the first 3 innings at Auburn and you think about his outing this time, yes, he worked around a guy on every inning. I think for the first 4 innings, but he worked out of that. Okay, and he's really been flipping his breaking ball in early, even if it's not always for a strike. He's been flashing a changeup just so the hitters know he's throwing that pitch tonight. He's throwing the changeup tonight, and they can't just sit on 93 to 97. And to me, that's been the difference in the last couple of outings where if you go back, let's say a month, right, he really didn't even try to fool you with a changeup or a breaking ball. He's just saying, here's my fastball, try and hit it. And my opinion has always been as long as he shows those other pitches, even if it's not for a strike, as long as they're somewhat close, the hitters have to respect that, and they can't just rely on one pitch. Floyd's line on the night: 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 1 walk. That is a massive stat for Ty Floyd moving forward. 1 walk. Great job by that young man. And oh, by the way, a career high 10 strikeouts. He did all that work in 103 pitches, and that's probably the reason he did not go out there for the seventh. If he was at that 92 pitch mark, I definitely think you see Jay and Wes Johnson running him back out there for a seventh. But at 103, you just, at that point, he's really done all he could. He left with a 2-1 lead. You pat him on the back with 10 strikeouts and you say, look, we need to take it from here. And LSU just couldn't get it done from the pitching side of things. And I think if you ask any LSU fan if that's going to be Ty Floyd's line 3 out of 4 weekends, or he gives you that type of line against Georgia, say he scuffles in the SEC tournament, but he gives you that line in the regional or a super regional, LSU fans will take that all day, every day at this point in time. I did not disagree with LSU's coaches bringing in Nate Ackenhausen and then following him up with Thatcher Hurd. Look, Ackenhausen and Hurd, that combo threw great in relief of Skenes on Friday night against Auburn. And I was even calling for those guys to throw again on Saturday because I thought they could have thrown really well because I think Ackenhausen threw 7 pitches and Hurd only threw 11 pitches in their outing against Auburn. But this Saturday night in relief of Floyd, they couldn't get it done. Ackenhausen comes in to face the lefty in the top of the seventh, Hancock, and he greets him with a solo home run that ties the game up at 2. Then Ackenhausen runs into a little bit of trouble, but he works out of it as he strikes out State's 2 best hitters, Ledbetter and Hines, both left-handed, and he gets those guys to go down swinging. LSU regains the lead 4-2, and Thatcher Hurd comes in. Look, you're up by 2 runs. You got 6 outs to get. I think Hurd's the right man in that situation, the way he's been throwing especially. I know a lot of people don't have confidence with him. They really just talk a lot of smack about him on Twitter, and I can understand that. Well, I'm not going to say that on Twitter about a college kid. But his last 9 innings pitched, he has thrown really, really, really well. So I had a lot of confidence, just the way he's been throwing, his attitude, his body language, all of his stuff, and he just wasn't able to get it done. Dakota Jordan, who did absolutely nothing all night on Saturday, he leads off with a double, and you felt like there was a little bit of trouble brewing as then Kellum Clark, one of State's best, most experienced hitters, comes up and crushes a ball to left center for a 2-run home run that ties the game up. But State's not done there as Hurd gives up another run before he's lifted for Riley Cooper, and it just kind of goes from bad to worse as Cooper gives up a 3-run bomb to Colton Ledbetter. And at that point, it's 8-4, and really the game's basically over. Coop gives up another run in the 9th, and that's that. LSU can't fight back from a hitting side of things, which we'll get into, and the Tigers fall in this Saturday game. You got to be able to hold a 4-2 lead late in the season, especially with 6 outs left to get, right? Floyd threw great. You give it up, right? You give up the lead, but it's only 2-2. Your offense does enough to get the lead back to 4-2, and you just got to figure out a way to Get the first guy out, figure out a way to get ahead with hitters. You got to increase your focus to where you can't leave pitches up in the zone. You got to stay down in the zone. And you just got to be aggressive in the zone. And LSU just couldn't get it done right there. When you look at the hitting side of things, to me, it was a game of missed opportunities on Saturday night. I think LSU had a couple of chances, not very many though, a couple of chances to get more runs than they did against Mississippi State's ace, Cade Smith, but they weren't able to get the job done. But look, I always give credit where credit's due. I'm not always going to be like, oh, they didn't beat us, we beat ourselves. That's crap, right? Look, Cade Smith was very, very good. I told y'all in the preview episode, he was Mississippi State's ace. He had thrown really good. He had dealt in the last 3 out of his 4 SEC outings, and they followed Auburn's game plan, right? They held him not to face Skenes. They didn't want to, quote unquote, waste his opportunity. They held him to face Ty Floyd, and it paid off in the end as Smith threw the ball really, really well. LSU jumps out to an early lead. They have bases loaded, 1 out in the second. So bases loaded, 1 out in the second. LSU gets a K, but then they get a bases loaded walk for a run. They get another K. So it's a missed opportunity right there to get really more than 1 run right there. You're hoping to get at least 2 out of it, right? But they come away with 1. Travinsky, who is on fire, crushes a solo home run to left field in the 4th. That puts LSU up 2-0. Cade Smith comes out of the game, and LSU has a chance to strike for a ton of runs right there. This is the bottom of the 7th now. The game is tied up 2-2. Cade Smith is out. LSU gets bases loaded, nobody out. Tommy White comes up, hits the first pitch he sees for a single to right field. LSU scores 1 run. Still bases loaded, nobody out. Beloso's up. Double play, ground ball, scores a run though, but got 2 outs right there. So you still have a chance to make some things happen. Okay? You get a walk. So now there's first and third with 2 outs, and then you get a K. So you look at that inning right there. Bases loaded. You got 4, 5, 6 coming up. White singles. You're like, all right, maybe Beloso can lift the ball to the outfield. You score a run. Hopefully you have second and third intact with only 1 out. But unfortunately, it rolls over. They turn the double play. And they really kind of just squashed the rally right then and there. LSU gets nothing going in the 8th and the 9th as State eventually takes the lead, as we previously discussed, and the Tigers lose that game 9-4. But when you look at that game, LSU only got 7 hits on Saturday night. 4 of those hits were from Tommy White. Travinsky had a hit with the solo home run. Thompson and Beloso had a hit apiece as well. So not a great night for the hitters. Hats off to Cade Smith right there as he did his job. But you look at Dugas, Morgan, Cruz, Ofer. Jones, Ofer. All right? So, I mean, if Tommy White doesn't show up to the ballpark, it is a struggle. It was a struggle anyway. But luckily he showed up. He balled out. But just not a great night for the hitters. But in the end, they hand the lead over to the bullpen. It's 4-2, right? They get that lead back. It's 4-2, and they just can't hold the lead. All right, let's move on to Sunday. Whew. LSU loses this game 14-13 in 10 innings in what can only be described as a massive letdown, and one which leaves you shaking your head, right? If you're an LSU fan, if you're an LSU player, and then obviously if you're part of that LSU coaching staff. You really felt like you let the game on Saturday get away with the 4-2 lead? What if I told you were up 13-4 in the 6th inning, crushing Mississippi State, and you find a way to lose that game in 10 innings? What you think about that? And that one's going to hurt right there. And oh, by the way, that causes you to lose the series as well. Let's get into the pitching because it was something. It was something, boy. And the pen really let LSU down. But if there is a bright spot when you think about the pitching on Sunday, it's got to be left-handed pitcher Javen Coleman making his first SEC start of the season as he continues to work his way back from Tommy John surgery. And to me, he looked like he could be the number 3 starter for the Tiger staff from this point moving forward. The issue is, at this point, really just building up his arm strength, building up his stamina, and building up the strength in his legs as it continues to get hotter and more humid at this time of the year. They're also trying to do that while also building up his pitch count, right? So today, Coleman throws 50 pitches right on the nose. Hopefully, next time out against Georgia, you can see that increase to 60 or 65 pitches, and hopefully he can get further than he got today. So on the day, Coleman's line read 2 2/3 innings pitched, 0 hits, which is really impressive, 1 run, 1 earned, 3 walks, which really drove up his pitch count, but 5 Ks as he had it going early and often. I thought he came out looking really good. His velocity was up anywhere from 91 to 94, 95. But after that first inning, you really saw his velocity steadily decrease. And I'm just going to attribute that to his arm strength maybe not being all the way back. And then sometimes, look, when your legs go, your mechanics and your velocity go as well. So he's trying to still build himself up. Like he's throwing bullpens, but nothing can really prepare you for a game like a game in terms of the adrenaline rush, which can sap you, the concentration, which can mentally wear you down. And then once again, getting out in that heat and humidity as well. But look, he gutted it out. I thought he threw the ball really well. He did his job. He got some of State's best hitters to look really, really silly, especially Hines, Ledbetter, and Clark. And I was really impressed. It gives me a lot of confidence with him moving forward. After him, well, it was basically every pitcher on the entire staff almost, except for Thatcher Hurd, that threw in that game. As LSU threw out 8 relievers, and they all took their turn in trying to shut down the Mississippi State lineup, but they really just couldn't do it. On the day, the Pen gave up 16 hits, 13 runs, 13 earned, 7 walks, which was a killer, and 9 Ks. The walks also coincided with a couple of hit by pitch, and then the fact that they were just seemed like they were always behind in counts. Yes, stop me if you've heard this before with regards to the LSU bullpen. Look at this. The Pen was given leads of 3-0, 5-1, 10-4, and 13-4. But unfortunately, the LSU pitching staff gives up 4 runs in the 6th, 5 runs in the 7th, and the game winner in the top of the 10th. I'm not going to go into each pitcher's performance in depth because, 1, I just don't want to relive that moment, and 2, half of y'all are going to turn it off when I start doing that stuff. And I'll just get into the pitching more a little bit later. When you look at the hitting side of things, just like most of you, it was a kind of a reincarnation of Friday night, right? LSU was off and running early. I thought they were going to blow State out. Even though it got to 5-4, LSU answered back, and it's 13-4. I'm thinking, look, they got a chance for another 10-run rule, knowing how shaky Mississippi State's bullpen is. But after the 5th inning, State just shut LSU out completely as LSU goes 5 scoreless innings, and Mississippi State's bullpen really did the job in quieting the LSU bats. It was a hit parade early as Joe Bear gets LSU on the board with a 3-run home run in the 2nd. Morgan absolutely demolishes a ball to right field over the diamond deck. And you don't see him pull balls a ton. I wish Morgan would actually pull balls more. When he gets that barrel head out, he crushed 2 balls today, and I wish he would just do that just a little bit more because sometimes I think he's so content on hitting the ball to left field and the left center gap, which he does very, very well. Cruz gets out of his mini slump today as he has 3 hits on the day. Look, but LSU scores 5 in the 4th as Morgan hits another home run in the 5th, and then LSU scores 3 more to make it 13-4. And like I said, hats off to State's relievers at that point. LSU did have a chance, though, right? After the Pen had given it up, it's 13-13 heading into the bottom of the 9th. LSU gets to where it's 2 outs with the bases loaded. I think Paxton Kling got on, and then you saw Napolt, who pinch hit for Dugas. He bunts Kling over, okay? And then Mississippi State very smartly decides to intentionally walk Dylan Cruz and Tommy Tanks. Smart decision right there because those runs mean absolutely nothing. The only run that means anything is the guy on third base. Milazzo is up in the batting order, and he pops up to first base, and that ends the threat right there. Look, tough spot for him with regards to 2 outs and bases loaded, but he did have a 2-0 count and takes a fastball for a strike on the inner half, and then he gets jammed on a fastball kind of in the same spot right there, and that ends the threat, and Mississippi State goes on to win that game. For the series, here's one stat for you. For this, that's very concerning, obviously. For the series, LSU's bullpen threw 10 1/3 innings pitched. They gave up 25 hits, 21 runs, 21 earned, 9 walks, and 14 Ks. If my math is correct, that is an ERA of 18.29. Not good, not good enough, and not going to be able to get it done moving forward. Okay, quickly, let me just very quickly review the 3 keys to the weekend that I gave you in the preview episode. The first key, the staff outside of Skenes needs to throw more strikes. They did and they didn't, right? Overall for the weekend, the staff threw 62% strikes. That's a little low. I'd rather see them up around that 65, 66% mark. Not terrible, but then we look at game 2 and 3, they left balls up and they felt like they were constantly behind hitters. So they really didn't execute on that key to the weekend. The second key, would the pressure be relieved? Could they relax now? Would they have a weight lifted off their shoulder after kind of finally losing an SEC series, although you never want to lose one, and then dropping from that number 1 ranking? I don't know. Maybe the pressure is ratcheted up more internally. I don't know what those guys are going through. I know what I went through, but these guys are trying to recreate that magic and get back to Omaha, so they're breaking through their own pressure barriers. So you saw them play free and easy Friday night. You saw him play free and easy for 5 innings on Sunday. And besides that, I think some guys kind of succumbed to a little bit of the pressure. And my final key for the weekend, I said, don't let Ledbetter, Hines, and Amani Larry beat you. And I don't think they really did. Ledbetter did have the 3-run home run off of Cooper on Saturday, which is really the nail in the coffin. But I think Hines, he didn't have any hits up until Sunday. He had 2 hits. And then Larry he did a couple things on Sunday as well, but I don't think they really beat you. I think it was more a fact of the LSU pitching staff kind of letting you down in those instances. Okay, what are the 3 big things that I learned from this weekend? The first thing that I learned, Ty Floyd may have turned the corner, and then Javen Coleman looks like the number 3 starter to me moving forward. I kind of touched on these briefly going over the Saturday and Sunday games, but look, Floyd's outing was great. He gave you everything you could have asked for. Everybody were taking that before the game. If I said Floyd gives you 6 innings, 1 run, 10 Ks, will you take that? And you'd be like, hell yeah, I'm taking that. Coleman, very good outing. They continue to build up his pitch count, but I thought he looked really good against some tough lefties to face. He's going to have another tough lineup to face next weekend in Georgia, as they have Anderson, Connor Tate, Charlie Condon is an unbelievable freshman, and he's going to have to go through another tough lineup as well. But the key for him, stay pain-free and have the ability to go out there, start again on Sunday in Athens, and hopefully get to 60 to 65 pitches. And you'd really like to see him get all the way out to the 4th inning as well. The second big thing that I learned this weekend, LSU has a bullpen problem. I know you're saying, no crap, Chris. This is a family program. We're going to leave the cuss words out of it. But it just continues to be more and more evident every week. And look, when I look for my 3 big things, some of them are pretty obvious, and I just can't escape this one, right? So let's talk about the bullpen. Those guys in the bullpen, look, every one of them, I just think they need to take a good, hard look in the mirror and do some self-assessment and figure out, what do I need to do to help my team the rest of the year? Forget about numbers, forget about personal accolades, forget about draft status. You got Georgia, the SEC tournament, and then after that, your season can be over in 2 losses, bottom line, just like it was in Hattiesburg last year. Okay? The talent is there. Regardless of what the Tigers or the naysayers on Twitter say, the talent is definitely there. But they got to look in the mirror and they got to say, I need to do my job to help this team. And what does that job entail? You just have to have 4 dudes from here on out. You need 4 guys in that pen to step up and say, give me the ball. I'm going to get the job done. I'll throw on Friday and Sunday. I'll throw on Saturday and Sunday. I'll do whatever it takes for this team to get as far as they possibly can and really reach the potential that everybody expects them to. Another thing, the plan, the approach, the pitch calling, the philosophy, whatever it is, it's not working and it's not resonating. I'm not in those meetings. I don't know the first thing about Wes Johnson. I don't know his philosophy. I don't know how he throws his bullpens. I don't know how he talks to his pitchers about how to attack the strike zone. But whatever it is, look, from the bullpen side of things, it's not working. It's not resonating. I don't know if it's because the pitchers don't trust him or the plan, or if they don't like him, they don't believe in what he's calling, or they don't believe in the way that they should be attacking hitters. But whatever he is selling right now for that bullpen, it's not working and they're not buying it. There just seems to be some type of disconnect. Now, the caveat is Wes Johnson doesn't go out there and throw a pin. Wes Johnson, if he's calling a breaking ball for a strike down the middle, he's not the guy that bounces two of them in a row. And now he has no choice but to throw a fastball. And then sometimes they can't execute that, right? He's not out there throwing the pitches, but he should be giving them, and I would assume he is, as good of a pitching coach as he is, giving them the tools for success in terms of when you miss with a breaking ball in the dirt, this is how you fix it. This is what your mindset needs to be. This is where your release point needs to be. And after that, his job's over. Then it's up to the guys wearing purple and gold with their names and numbers on the back to go out there and execute that. He can't help you if you're on the mound and it's 0-0 to leadoff guy and you bounce two curveballs and they're not even close, right? He can't help you if it's 3-1 and you throw a fastball, 2 feet above the guy's head, right? That's on you. That's why I said whatever it is, from a bullpen perspective, philosophy, the bullpen work, the mindset, it's just not working, and they need a hard reset moving forward. The third thing that I learned this weekend, while Dylan Cruz and Paul Skenes are the best players on this team, I think Tommy White is the most important player on this team. Now, just listen to what I said. They're the best, Skenes and Cruz, but I think White is the most important, and this is why. Think of the protection that he has provided Dylan Cruz up until this point in the year. Okay? Teams are actually still trying to avoid Dylan Cruz, and White continues to make them pay. You thought they would learn their lesson by now. Also, it helps that Dylan Cruz has an amazing eye and amazing two-strike approach, and he continues, even while he was in a mini slump, to find a way to get on base with the walks. Tommy White leads LSU in homers, leads them in doubles, top 3 or 4 in the country in RBIs. Okay, he has been absolutely white hot, no pun intended, lately. He can do it oppo, and you've been seeing him do it pull side as of late as well. And his two-strike approach is phenomenal. If Dugas, Cruz, or Morgan, or a combination of two of those guys have been scuffling, White is there to pick up the pieces and help drive in the runs. That's why, in my opinion, he is the most important guy on this team. And you've really seen it lately with Dylan just going through a little bit of a mini slump, right? But he got back in the act today with 3 hits on Sunday. But White has been steady, providing the firepower and driving in runs when he's had the opportunity to. Not a hot take, something I thought a lot about, but I'll be interested to hear what y'all say on that point as well. All right, starting to wrap up here on the 60 feet 6 inches LSU podcast as we review the Mississippi State series. The get right, stay right list. How did my predictions do? On the get right list, I had Dugas. I'm going to call that a hit for your boy. Dugas was 5 for 13 on the weekend, which is good for 385, a double, and a home run. So great to see Gavin Dugas get right as he went nuts on Friday night as he went 4 for 4. Also on the get right list, Jared Jones. He continues to scuffle, unfortunately, as you saw him not start on Sunday. And I thought that was a well-timed break for him, but he came in late in the game. On the weekend, Jared Jones went 0 for 8 with 6 Ks and 2 walks. And that was a miss for me. And I think moving forward, he just needs a break, right? A chance to get his head right. And I'm not opposed to him sitting out a couple games in a row, just like he did earlier in the year, and then he got red hot, right? So it may be time for him just to clear his head, take a break, and just try not to press so much. Also on the get right list, I had Dylan Cruz. I'm going to call that a push. Look, he struggled on Friday and Saturday, but he turned it around on Sunday. He went 3 for 11 on the weekend, which is 272. He did have 5 walks, but he also had 3 Ks, so I'm going to call that a push for Cruz. On the stay right list, I had Tommy Tanks. That is a massive hit. Tommy Tanks was phenomenal. He went 8 for 14, which is 571 on the weekend. He had 3 doubles and a home run. He is up to 396 on the year, by the way. The dude's going to end up hitting over 400. He's going to get to 20 home runs, and he has a chance to get to 100 RBIs. A phenomenal sophomore season for Tommy White in an LSU uniform. Also on the stay right list, I had Hayden Travinski. Massive hit, punched that button. He went 3 for 5 on the weekend. He got to start Saturday and Sunday. And oh, by the way, he hits another home run. I think moving forward, as of right now, if he's not catching, Hayden Travinski should be DHing, and then you work the lineup around that. You got to put whoever you need to in first, and then you can work the corner outfield spots as you deem necessary. Look, he's just too hot to leave on the bench right now. Also, on the stay right list, I had Thatcher Hurd. That's a miss. After throwing really well in his last 9 innings, he had a rough outing on Saturday. 0 innings pitched, so he didn't record it out. 3 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned, 1 walk, and 1 K. That young man just needs to put that in the mirror, forget about that outing, burn the tape, as they say, and just think about the last 9 innings pitched and move forward because LSU is definitely going to need him. Getting into the SEC rundown real quick, if you didn't have a chance to check out some of the other scores this weekend, Auburn stays hot as they sweep Ole Miss, and I think Ole Miss at this point just quit. They're not going to make the SEC tournament, and I think they're just going to mail it in Oxford this season. Mizzou sweeps Georgia, which is great, good and bad, right? Because LSU goes to Athens. Georgia really needs some series wins to not only solidify their place in the SEC tournament, but those guys are trying to sneak into the NCAA regionals, probably as a 3 seed at this point. And with a struggling former number 1 team in the country, they need to make some hay in Athens. But Mizzou takes care of the Bulldogs. Florida sweeps Vandy. Florida bounces back after losing a series at A&M, and they dominate Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is really scuffling right now. Arkansas takes 2 out of 3 from South Carolina. Both those teams have a ton of injuries. South Carolina is starting to get some pieces back, but Arkansas, man, they got some arms, and their pitching has taken some hits this year with injuries. Arkansas, when I look at their lineup, it's not nearly as good as it was when they played LSU due to some injuries. The bottom of their lineup, really like 5 through 9, it's not great, but they find a way to get it done because they can pitch, right? They can win games 4-1. They take care of South Carolina. A&M and Bama are still playing at the time of this recording as they dealt with some rain. And then finally, Tennessee takes 2 out of 3 from Kentucky as the Vols continue to stay hot. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's review of the LSU Mississippi State series. Up next, the Tigers host Mississippi State on Tuesday night. Then they travel to Athens to face the Georgia Bulldogs in the last SEC series of the year. Be on the lookout for the Georgia preview podcast. I'm going to try to drop it on Wednesday, but I'm traveling a lot with work, so it may come out early Thursday morning, but I'm going to do my best to get that out to you on Wednesday. As a reminder, like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit me up on Twitter. Interact with me. I try to respond to as many people as possible. The Twitter account is at 60FT, 6IN LSU Pod. Also, if you notice my hat, shout out to my guys at Spittin' Seeds 247. That's the Twitter account. These dudes do a great job following college baseball. I had a chance to meet Matt and Brandon Beeve at the Tennessee series. They sent me this. I really appreciate it. It's got some bad juju on it, though, man. I took it to the Saturday game, and the old Spittin' Seeds logo didn't bring LSU any luck. Hopefully we'll turn that around pretty soon. But shout out to those guys for supporting college baseball. And just great dudes running that account. If y'all don't follow Spittin' Seeds 247, y'all go check them out. Reminder, the podcast available on Apple, Google, Spotify, all the other major audio platforms. So until next time, keep your heads up, Tiger fans. Y'all stay safe. And as always, go Tigers.